She didn't always feel invisible. There was a time when her phone would light up with his name, and her heart would race before she even read the message. Back then, every word from him felt like a promise. Every late-night conversation felt like something meaningful, like she was finally being seen. Her name was Aisha, and she believed in love the way people believe in miracles, completely, deeply, without hesitation. When she first met him, everything felt effortless. His name was Zayn. He had a calm confidence about him, the kind that made you feel safe without him even trying. He listened when she spoke. He remembered small details. He made her feel special in a way she had never experienced before. At least in the beginning, because over time, something started to change. Slowly, silently, almost invisibly. The shift she didn't notice. At first, it was small things. He stopped replying as quickly. Then, he stopped asking questions. Then he stopped noticing. And Aisha started trying harder. She told herself it was normal. People get busy, she thought. So she adjusted. She started texting first. She started planning conversations. She started putting in more effort, hoping it would bring back the way things used to be. But the more she gave, the less she received. And that's when the confusion began. Because how could something that felt so real start to feel so one-sided? The psychology behind what was happening. What Aisha didn't understand yet was this. When you constantly try to prove your value to someone, you slowly teach them that your value is negotiable. Zayn didn't wake up one day and decide she wasn't important. It happened gradually. Because the moment she started chasing, he subconsciously stopped choosing. Not out of cruelty, but out of human nature. You see, people are wired to value what feels meaningful, what feels earned, what feels like it could be lost. But Aisha was always there, always available, always giving, always trying. And without realizing it, she removed the one thing that creates emotional impact, uncertainty, the breaking point. One evening, she stared at her phone for hours. She had sent him a simple message. Hey, how was your day? It stayed undelivered, then seen, and then nothing. That silence said more than words ever could. For the first time, she didn't feel confused. She felt tired, emotionally exhausted, because deep down she already knew the truth she had been avoiding. He wasn't treating her the way she deserved. Not because she wasn't enough, but because she had been trying too hard to prove that she was. That night, something inside her shifted. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, powerfully. The moment everything changed. The next day, she didn't text him, not to play games, not to manipulate, but because for the first time, she chose herself. It felt strange, uncomfortable. Her mind kept whispering, what if he forgets you? What if he moves on? What if this is the end? But another voice, quieter, stronger, replied, if he only stays when you chase, was he ever really staying? And for the first time, she listened to that voice. The shift most people never make. Aisha stopped trying to be seen and started living as if she already was. She went out more. She spent time with people who valued her. She focused on things that made her feel alive again. Not to make him jealous, not to prove anything, but to reconnect with herself. And something unexpected happened. She started to feel different, stronger, calmer, more grounded. She wasn't waiting anymore. She wasn't checking her phone every 5 minutes. She wasn't building her day around his attention. And that's when the real shift happened. She stopped seeing him as the center of her world. And then he noticed. A few days later, her phone lit up again. His name, Zayn. Hey, you've been quiet. Everything okay? She looked at the message, and for the first time, her heart didn't race. Not because she didn't care, but because she cared about herself more. She didn't reply immediately, not intentionally. She was just busy living her life. Hours later, she responded simply, yeah, I'm good. Just focusing on myself these days. That message did something no long paragraph ever could. It created space. And in that space, he started to feel something he hadn't felt before, the possibility of losing her. Why men suddenly change. Here's the truth most people don't talk about. People often don't recognize your value when it's constantly available. But the moment that availability changes, their perception changes. Zayn wasn't suddenly a different person, but now he was seeing a different version of her. A version that wasn't chasing. A version that wasn't waiting. A version that had boundaries. And that version felt different, attractive, respectable, irreplaceable. The emotional reversal. He started texting more, calling more, trying more, and for a moment, Aisha felt the old emotions returning. Hope, excitement, possibility. But this time, she didn't lose herself in it, because she had learned something important. Attention is not the same as value. Consistency is, respect is, effort is, and she wasn't willing to accept anything less. The final realization. One evening they met again, face to face, after weeks of distance. He looked at her differently, not just with interest, but with respect, and maybe a little uncertainty. Something changed about you, he said. She smiled softly. Yeah, she replied. I stopped trying to be someone worth choosing, and started choosing myself. There was silence, but this time it felt different, because for the first time, she wasn't afraid of losing him. The truth most people learn too late. Aisha didn't lose him, but more importantly, she found herself. And that's the shift everything depends on. Because the moment you stop chasing validation and start living with self-respect, people don't just see you differently. They feel you differently. The lesson behind the story. This isn't just a love story. It's a psychological truth. When you give too much without boundaries, you unintentionally teach people to take you for granted. But when you shift your focus inward, when you stop trying to prove your worth, when you become emotionally independent, that's when everything changes. Not because you forced it, but because you became it. The ending that isn't really an ending. Aisha didn't become cold. She didn't stop caring. She didn't stop loving. She just learned to love herself first. And that made all the difference. Because in the end, being the prize isn't about making someone choose you. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need to be chosen, because they already know their worth. Final line, powerful outro for your video. The moment you stop chasing someone's attention is the moment they start realizing your absence. And by then, you're no longer the same person they took for granted.